says, all right, well, he makes a decree, whoever's stealing needs to come forward and take their 10 lashings with the whip and take their punishment. That's what it came for. Next week, more money was gone. The lashings went up, and the decree was 20 this time. 5 weeks went by. Nobody's coming forward, and the king each week is going out. Now it's up to 50 lashings with a whip. Finally, it's uncovered that it's the king's mother stealing from the king. So the king's in a real crux now. And everybody's watching him. What's he going to do? Because we know he's a loving king. We know he's going to honor his mother and father. I don't know if he's going to let his mom get whipped and 50 lashes on a woman her age might have killed her. But he's also a king who's known for being just, and he expects justice. So everybody's sitting around watching what he's going to do. He has his mother taken to the whipping post, her blouse cut down the back so her back's exposed. And just before he gives the order to the man to administer the whipping, he takes his robe off and goes over and puts his arm around her and shelters her and then orders for the whipping to begin and takes the 50 lashings onto his back, saving his mother from that. That's exactly what God sent Jesus Christ to.
Amen.
Every single one of us.
Yes, it is.
Every single one of us. Like I said, that's a story of fiction. The beautiful part is there's a non-fiction version of that. It's called the New Testament.
Amen.
And everybody should know. Now, that's a great story. It's a great example of an innocent person taking a beating for somebody that he loved. You know, I can imagine I would do that for my mom. Would any of you do that for Casey Anthony or Charles Manson? Jesus did. That's the difference between that fictitious king, me, the worm of a little sinner that I am, and most anybody. That man, that king did it for his mother. You know, it's easy to do things out of love when you love somebody. Do it for somebody you don't care for at all. Do it for a stranger.
Sure.
And that's what Jesus did.
Amen.
At the foot of that cross is room for every sick person that's ever walked this earth, this cursed earth, and done some of the most vile things that our imaginations couldn't dream of.
Right.
There's room at the bottom of that cross for him, just like there was me. And I'm so thankful that I got saved when I did.
Amen.
I'm so thankful for the education that I've gotten, that I could stand here and talk about something that I know so well. If there's anybody out there that doesn't know it, I just pray that you come to know it. And it's so simple. Like I said, this is a book that you can read your whole life, and you're never going to know it. You're never going to know it 100%. There's always going to be something that you can learn from it. But the simple principle, like I said, we go back to Genesis 4:9, or John 3:16, most people can quote, especially the kids in this church. God so loved the world, he gave us Jesus. Just believe it. It's so simple, a child would do it.
Amen.
So you might not ever get this book. You understand, go with him like a child, and you'll understand it with ease. It's not complicated. But you have to understand. I'm reminded of a story when I was a kid. I was about 8 years old, my son's age, and I was doing my homework in my room. And I had an old, 1970s model stapler on my desk. I think I just wanted to have it there because my mom was, a bookkeeper. She had stuff like that laying around. I had no need for a stapler. Well, I was working on my homework, and I don't remember how it happened. I must have been playing around with that thing, and I got a staple on my finger. And it hurts. Probably not as bad as it just looked. I mean, I remember it being the worst thing in the world. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. And as usual, a couple minutes later, my mom would come in and check on me and look at the homework. I sat there hiding this little tiny staple stuck in my finger. Because I was so scared. Didn't know what to do, was panicking. And my mom helped me with my homework probably for 15 minutes. And I was turning pale. And she came back, "You all right?" And finally, I broke down and started crying. And I showed her. I didn't know if she was going to tell me we had to go to the hospital, and I was afraid of shots and maybe they had to cut it off. I don't know. And she said, "Well, is that what you've been so upset about?" She said, "Give me that thing." She pulled it right out. And it was just like this blanket of warmth around me. It was like an aha moment. And I just take from that what all I had to do was give it to her, and she could help me.
Right.
But I had to give it to her first.
That's right.
And that's what God, I feel like, is looking at all of us and just waiting.
Amen.
You got problems, there's nothing that you can think of
Right.
that I don't know already. I know your thoughts. There's nothing you can do that somebody else hasn't done before. You got to give it over to him first, though.
Amen.
You can't fix it if you don't give it to him. And I'll always remember that happening to me. And like in Matt 7:11. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes. Matthew chapter 7, verse 11. That ain't good. I'm sorry. Let's see. I didn't use a post-it there. Give me a second. He goes on to say, okay, at 9 it says, or what man is there of you whom, if his son asks for bread, will he give him a rock? Or if he asks for a fish, he'll give him a snake. And then in 11 it says, if ye then, being evil, like we can all admit we're sinners, if ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father, which is in heaven, give good things to them that ask him? Amen. So as good as my mom, and I couldn't have asked for better parents, as good as she was to be able to do that, how much more could God take care of things like that for us? Amen. Every one of us was created in an image of God. I mean, from Brother Clyde to the smallest child that'll be in here, each individual, we were created in the womb unique. We're more beautiful than 1,000 Grand Canyons. In fact, if there were 1,000 Grand Canyons, we probably wouldn't look at it too hard. There's only one. We think that's pretty sweet. It is. But we were created in the image of God. That's a beautiful thing. Amen. Think about your fingerprints. Each of us have different fingerprints. And it wasn't until about 100 years ago the cops figured out this and they started being able to bust people. Good for them. But from the beginning of time, we each have individual fingerprints. Why? Because we're so unique. When he wove us together in that womb, when he was counting each hair we were ever going to have on our heads, counting the days before we were ever conceived that we would live, that he gave us each our own individual identities. No two are alike. Now they're figuring out that your eyes are the same as fingerprints, your ears are the same as fingerprints. And here's what I want to mention that just blows me away. Identical twins that share the same DNA, different fingerprints. What else is there? Is that because we come from fish? And it's all some happy accident? I think not. That thesis requires a lot of faith that I don't have. Right. But I do know that I was created in the image of God. Amen. And everything that science will ever point out will only convict me stronger in that belief. Amen. So I'm not against hearing anything new from science. I love it. It only points back to what we've always known. Sure.